Welcome to the Green Wasp Removal YouTube channel. These are Eastern Carpenter Bees. They're big, they're buzzy, they're loud, and they're some of our most gentle and docile beneficial native pollinators that we have here in North America. In this special 90-minute episode, we're going to show you how we capture, mark, and relocate dozens of carpenter bees over the course of about a week that we remove from a private residence using only an insect net and some simple homemade traps that can be made for free in just a few minutes from household food packaging waste and a roll of duct tape. These super simple but very effective traps can be installed in just seconds anywhere you need them on your house. There's no tools required, no woodworking skills required. It couldn't be simpler. The best part is you don't dump a bunch of poison around your own property, and you get to keep our native pollinators alive and simply give them a new home. We'll show you how to use insect nets to capture carpenter bees in flight while they're hovering around their entry points, and we'll show you exactly how to transfer them from the net into a jar or other food packaging waste to get them prepared for relocation. The process is relatively simple. Pretty much anybody can do it. As long as you follow the basic protocols you see in this video, you'll have no trouble doing this yourself. Netting and live trapping carpenter bees is actually fun. A lot of people actually enjoy this when they try it, so we highly recommend you give it a shot. Don't be intimidated by the size and the sound of carpenter bees. They make plenty of noise, they're pretty large, but they're really docile. They almost never sting anyone. Using about a half a dozen simple homemade traps that were just food waste containers and duct tape, we were able to trap many of these as they dropped out of their nesting holes in the wood, and that way we didn't have to use any poison at all. We never use any kind of toxic insecticide when we operate in the field, and this was just another example of that. It was very easy to do, and you don't need toxins. All it takes is a very simple understanding of how carpenter bees operate. You install your trap at the hole. You cover the hole with the trap, of course, so they can't get out unless they drop into the trap. And as they get out, you just collect them. And every time there's more, you collect some more. It's very simple. And once they're all out, you just tape up the hole. You make sure there's no more in there. If there is any chewing out of the tape that you see, that means there's more in there. You just reinstall the trap until they're all out. Once they're all out, you've got them. They're not going back in, and you can go relocate them. All the carpenter bees we captured at this residence were put into a glass habitat temporarily where we'd feed them on sugar water until they were ready for relocation. Over a few days, we'd collect several dozen of these. Usually we'd take about a dozen at a time out for relocation, and that's what you see us doing here. We're just putting them in these temporary glass habitats, and they're fine in there. They can live in there for days at a time as long as you feed them sugar water. They're perfectly comfortable, and then once they're ready for relocation, you just roll them out of town and take care of it. Here's another trap, same idea, a little food packaging waste. Just put it up right at the hole, let them drop in, and go collect them. Live trapping is kind of fun and interesting. It's like going fishing, waiting to see what you might catch, and it's great because you don't have to kill these native pollinators. You just collect them all and set them free again somewhere where they can live out in nature. We'll show you where we decided to release these carpenter bees out at a nature preserve about 6 miles from the residence where we collected them, and we could just launch them into the air and they'd fly away. This is an area with a lot of natural dead logs and trees that are no longer alive. They're standing, but they're not alive, and this is the type of place in nature that carpenter bees were meant to live. So ideally, each of these bees will just go out and start to live in a place where they're not going to be at risk and they're not going to be around people. You know, there's no guarantee that'll happen. They may not survive. They may end up in some farmhouse or some barn. We don't know, but it beats killing them. All we're trying to do is give them a chance at life. So we're going to show you how to make traps out of anything. Plastic cups, plastic containers, food containers, whatever. And just because of the anatomy of these bees, they can't climb up the sides of plastic or glass. So once they're in, they're in. They can't get back up and get in their hole. After a while, you can put some tape over the hole, and then you wait and see if any bees trying to get out chew a little hole in that tape. If they do, you just reinstall your trap and trap them again. And you just repeat that process until they're all out. You retape it again. If there's no more chew marks, then they are all out. At that point, you can seal up your nest gallery holes with wood putty or caulk or expandable foam or what have you. Some people shoot a little boric acid or essential oils or something up there. It doesn't really matter as long as the bees are out. Carpenter bees are a semi-social species, and that means they don't make big colonies, but they will live together several at a time inside these nest gallery tunnels that they make in the wood. So you want to make sure they're all out before you seal it up, and that's why we use the tape. That's a great way to find out if they're still in there or not. So our field experiment was great. We marked about half of the bees that we collected from this residence just to see what would happen if they were able to get back to the residence or not from 6 miles away. And fortunately, out at this nature preserve, 6 miles did prove to be plenty. None of them came back. So if you can find even a 5-minute drive, basically is what we're talking about. 5-6 minute drive, get up to 5-6 miles away. If you have any woods out in your area, that's the place to release them. This type of dead tree out in the wild, that's exactly what they're looking for in nature. But because humans clear-cut the vast majority of forest land in North America over the last 400 years, carpenter bees are stuck. They don't have many places to live in the wild anymore. They still nest in dead wood like they always have. They just find it in houses, garages, barns, sheds, you name it. So in this episode, we're going to show you everything you need to know. We're going to go through the entire process of how to trap them, how to make the traps, what to do once you find them inside your traps, how to transport them out to get them relocated. If you want to mark them, we'll show you how we do marking, and you can experiment on your own with whether or not they come back to your house and how far away you have to take them to make sure that doesn't happen. We'll show you the process of how we net them and then how we transfer them into jars and how we transfer them from there into the glass habitats. There's nothing about the gear we use or the techniques we use that the average person couldn't do. So we encourage you to experiment and see what you can do to relocate carpenter bees instead of killing them. And carpenter bees, once they're put into a habitat, you just soak down a paper towel with sugar water and they'll just climb up on that, cool themselves off on it, drink from it, and that's all they need. It's a very simple setup. We use a glass reptile cage, but you could also use really anything you had laying around the house that was kind of a big container that will fit them and give them enough space to move around and fly a little bit until you can get them relocated. It could be a plastic bin with some air holes drilled into it or whatever. There's a lot of ways you can do it. We'll show you how we do the marking process by knocking out the bees with CO2 gas, and then while they're out for a few minutes, we mark them with a non-toxic paint pen. We're also going to show you how we utilize an alternate method to trap carpenter bees in glue traps, which are a lethal method. You have to kill the bees to do this, and it's only used in very rare circumstances when you're up on a very dangerous place, a tall ladder, a high roof, a roof that has a pitch that's so steep you can't walk on it to keep maintaining live traps. This sort of situation calls for a glue trap. It's the most effective, most non-toxic method to get carpenter bees out of a building and make sure they can't get back in. Unfortunately, you do have to kill the bees on this technique, but it's rare to have to use it. But when you do, it's very effective, and we're going to show you how to use it. But the vast majority of the time, in any household application, you're not going to have to kill bees to get rid of them. You can just live trap them and take them out to a nature area that's far away from other buildings and let them loose in areas where they naturally are supposed to build nests, in hollow logs, in dead trees. Just make sure you're far enough away from buildings that they don't just end up in somebody else's home. Based on our own research and experiments, it looks like 5 or 6 miles will do it. They won't come back to the place where you captured them. If you want to mark them just to check and make sure that they don't come back and you don't see them again, that's never a bad idea. But for our research, 6 miles was plenty so that they didn't return. Carpenter bees belong in nature. They belong in our ecosystems. So this video is going to show you how to save their lives when you have to remove them from your home. This is the end of the preview. Now we're going to get into the episode. It's an hour and a half long. We hope you enjoy it. If you do find the content on our channel entertaining or educational in any way, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment to let us know you're there. Enjoy the show. It's May 19th, 2025. Here we have a carpenter bee.
You see how she's busy digging a new hole in this fence post. She chews away the wood and then pushes it out of the hole with her legs. They are very prolific diggers of wood. So you see all the sawdust she's just pushing out of there. So she's beneficial, very much so, as a pollinator. So we're just going to let her work. And she can live on this old fence post with no problem. Let's knock on the post and tell her hello. Maybe we can get a better look at her. They're not aggressive, so she won't sting. She'll just take off. There she goes.
So this job began on June 3rd, 2025. We had no idea how many bees were going to be in this house at the time. We just captured a male and a female here with a net. You can tell it's a male because of that big yellow patch it has on its face. The females have only a black face. The males have that big yellow patch. And the males are interesting because they're completely harmless. They can't sting. They have no venom. They only buzz loudly and zip around the area where the nests are. And their job is to just scare away anything that comes near the nest. So they're loud and buzzy and they look aggressive, but they're not. They're just big, gentle giants, and they can't hurt you. They're completely harmless. This is a male and a female here. The females with the black faces, they spend all their time digging and foraging for nectar and pollen to feed their young. They are not aggressive at all. They are far too busy to care about people being nearby. It's the males usually that buzz around your head when you get close to one of their nests. The females pretty much ignore you. So in the first couple days of this job, we just pulled more and more and more out. They just kept coming.
So we've got 5 females here and 4 males, all taken from a local private residence that was having trouble with them in the front fascia of their house. They were defacing the property. So the females, as you see here, have black faces and a black dot on their back, on their thorax, and they're covered in pollen from going out and hunting pollen. The males, on the other hand, have no pollen on them usually, and have a yellow dot on their face, as you can see here. Big yellow dot, big yellow face. And that's how you can tell if they're male or female. So they're not happy about being captured, but we'll take them out miles from here and let them go in the nature woods environment. And out in the woods, they can find dead trees and logs and everything that they can nest in, and they won't bother anybody. No reason to kill them because they're absolutely great native pollinators. So carpenter bees, whenever you can save them and relocate them, go ahead and do that. Try to do it out where there is dead wood and logs and trees. That way they don't end up in somebody's house. This is 2 females face to face. Can't tell if they're doing trophallaxis or if they're doing aggressive kind of dominance behavior, or if they're maybe even from the same nest. But this appears to be a male and female couple. They've been hanging out together since they got into this habitat. June 3rd, 2025. We're at a private residence and we rigged up some traps for carpenter bees here. They're just random containers, old food packaging that are taped to the exit holes of the brood gallery that gets drilled into the wood by the female carpenter bee. So far we captured them through this method. They just drop down into the trap and then you cap off the trap and you can go relocate them elsewhere. Have to take them miles away from their original location to release them, otherwise they'll come back to the same location. But they are essential, very helpful, beneficial native pollinators, so you want to make sure to relocate them when you can rather than kill them. Just take them far away, put them in the woods somewhere so they can find logs, dead logs and trees to nest in instead of people's homes. Here is if they're out foraging, they'll come back and they'll try to look around that trap to get back in their house, and then you simply use the net to catch them. We've netted them often today. So far we've netted about 5 females and 4 males that hang around to kind of guard the nest site that the females use. And I believe that'll be all from here, but just in case, we put up a couple of traps in the holes that we did not see the queen exit directly. And the rest of them we taped up. So here we're going to trap another one in the net. Probably male guard coming in. And we just netted it, and that's how it works. So here we go. Now we go put that one in captivity and get the next one. So once you have them in the net, just pull the net up so that they crawl to the top of the net. And then you take your jar and you slip it inside. So we're going to take our jar, put it inside the net, and transfer it. There we go. Once you have it transferred, cap it off and you're good to go. In the net. Then you just slip the cap on. Usually if you turn it upside down, the jar, you fly to the top, you can drop the cap on. There you go. This one's a male. You can tell because it has a big yellow mark on its face. Let's go get another one. They spend their days fighting other males and protecting their nests. All right, so here's our next 2 customers. A couple males that were guarding the nests. So what we're going to do is transfer them into the habitat here. And the way we do that is we just open up this hatch, drop them in, and it's a very simple process. And then they can join all their buddies down here that are busy rumbling, and we'll get them all released at the same time. There's 1 and 2. Now we go back and get some more. So here we have a female. You can see the pollen on her legs. So you can give you a better shot of that. You can tell she's female. She's got pollen all over her. So that's why these are so important, and you want to relocate, not kill. But don't relocate in a neighborhood with lots of houses, because then you just send them to your neighbor. Take them out miles away to any wooded area where they can have access to old logs and trees, and then they'll be fine. Yeah, she's got a bunch of pollen on her today. I don't know if you can see that. You see on her legs, see those big pollen cakes on her legs? She's really stacked it up. All right, let's go release her into the habitat. So once you have her contained inside a jar in the net, just transfer over with the cap. Contain. Not a difficult thing to do. You have to be careful, of course, but it's not challenging to do this. Pretty much anybody can do it, so you should give it a try. And then take her miles from here, let her loose in the woods where there's a lot of dead logs and trees, and she'll be fine out there. All right, here's a couple more. There's another male and another female. So let's get them out of there. Put them in with the others. One. So we now have probably 14, 15 total. And if you notice, first they fight like crazy, but then they calm down. And you know, they're interested in escaping, of course, but basically the newest arrivals might rumble more than the others, but they're doing fine. That's water and sugar in there with them, so they'll be okay. All right, here you see one of the traps has captured one of the queens. So we're gonna go up there and contain her and get her out of there. That's our queen. You just wrap the tape over the top, boom, done. Once you see a queen come out of a hole like this, you know that's her gallery. You can then go ahead and tape it up. No poison required. All right, Mama, let's get you out of here. Here's our girl. She's not so happy right now, but she'll be okay with her buddy as soon as we put her in the habitat. And then we'll release her in the wild, away from neighborhoods. All right, so here's our queen. We're gonna pop her into the habitat now with her buddies. It's an active place now. Quite a bit of activity in there. We left some wood in here, so if anybody feels like chewing wood holes, they can go to it. In the meantime, let's get her in there. Yes, you can't really climb glass. That's why most of these traps work so easily, because you just simply can't climb out of it. So you just take the top off, turn it over, dump her in your habitat, and you're set. And she can get some water and sugar in there to fuel up if she needs to, and okay. So we're setting up to do a trap out here to catch one of these queens. And you'll notice there's a couple of boards here. We use these two boards as ladder supports for the ground so you don't sink into soft ground. It's the simplest way and the quickest way to do this wherever you end up having to put a ladder up. All you need to do is get a little jar. This is an old spice jar, any old pill bottle or any food packaging waste, just a small piece of glass or plastic that's clear so you can see through it. Use that with duct tape to cover the hole completely and suspend the trap directly beneath it. As soon as the queen drops out to go forage, you get her. She just left there if you saw that. When she comes back, she's going to try to get in, and we'll net her on the outside instead of trapping her on the inside. It works both ways. So you're going to put a piece of tape on each side of your glass, and then just stick it right up to the wood. So she will come back here after she picks up another load of pollen, and she'll try to get in, and we'll just use the net to grab her. So we're going to make another quick trap here. Just an old yogurt container or something here. That's all you need. A little duct tape. If you have a wide mouth container and that's all you have access to, just close it off a little bit with duct tape like you see here. Like that. Leaving just a little hole in the center, and that's what we're going to do. Then you take this hole, obviously you line it up with the hole in the wood, and you've got your trap. So now we have two traps installed. All we do now is simply wait for either the queen to drop down into the trap or to come back from a foraging run when we net her. And it's quite easy to net them when they're trying to get into the trap hole, so no problem. All right, our queen is back. Let's go net her. All right, here she is. Good healthy queen. Let's get her contained. So as always, you take the netted queen and you lift up the net so she can fly to the top, and then just lift a bottle in there and capture her right in the bottle. Then you cap the bottle and you're good to go. Simple as that. No pesticides, no ecosystem damage, and you just send her on her way. Release her somewhere else, far away from houses. Just go at least several miles away from where she was actually making a nest, and try to find wooded areas where she can live in old logs and old trees. All right, we captured at least the queen, maybe a queen or two that had come out of that gallery hole. Fine. The trap works fine. Let's go get them. Good. So you just fold the tape up over the hole and take them away. Looks like we have two females here. That's great. You can tell they're female, and they have black faces with no yellow face markings. So they're both females. That's what we're looking for, because they're the ones that drill the holes and make nests. You just take a piece of tape from your trap and close up the hole with it. There, we finally got the other queen down in this trap. So let's go up and get her out of there. So one piece of tape that we covered up earlier today has been chewed. So we're going to establish another trap here and see if anything else comes out. Next one here that's on the inside of the eaves fascia board. And we'll see if we can get this queen out of here pretty soon. We just took them out this morning to get some sun. They're just starting to wake up. They're all still asleep at the moment.
So something about feeding that we learned here in this habitat is that if you leave an open dish with sugar water in it, carpenter bees make a huge mess. They get all covered in the sugar water themselves. They splatter it all over the place with their wings inside the habitat. It's a mess. So after this, we learned just to soak a paper towel with sugar water and let them drink off of that. That works much better, keeps everything cleaner.
So we're out at a local nature preserve. Nothing but trees and places for carpenter bees. So this is a perfect spot. The tall dead trees within this environment, like this one over here, are perfect for carpenter bees. So there's nothing in this area but nature. We're gonna let these guys out of here now. All right, guys, have at it. Freedom. Pretty soon they're gonna realize we can get out of here, but it'll take them a few minutes to wake up. Let's get rid of this thing. Here you go, dude. All right, let's go, girls and guys. Yeah, they can still fly. So let's put them on a tree, or near a tree. Okay, there you go. Everybody out. This will at least give them a chance to survive. There you go. There they go. Okay, let's go, the rest of you campers. Come here. Climb on, buddy. Come here. Climb on, dude. All right, you're next. Let's go. I know. Come on. Let's go. Trust me. We're going to try to help you out here. There you go. All right. Take off. Come on, grab on. There you go. All right. Off you go. Come here, last one. Okay. Go ahead, hon. You're free. There she goes. Mission accomplished. June 4th, 2025. We're back at the Carpenter Bee collection. And this trap, as you see here, has captured 3 more adult carpenter bees that came out of that particular gallery hole in the wood. And this is not uncommon. You often will find a queen, a primary queen, and then a few subordinate queens. They're a semi-social species, so they're not always solo operators, but sometimes they are solo. But oftentimes we'll have something like this where there's several in there. And it may also be that some of them are starting to hatch out already, but it seems a little early for that. But either way, the traps are working great. So let's go up and clear them and put these ladies into a habitat temporarily until we can release them in the wild. So these are ready to go into the temporary habitat. They're still healthy and doing fine, so it doesn't seem to have worn them out much being in the trap. Looks like we had 3 females that came out of there. That's great. These are the ones that do most of the digging and egg laying and rearing of the young and all that. So it's good to get them out of this structure. Let's put them into a habitat here. Dump them right in. And they'll be glad to have some extra space. We give them a little wood to chew on in the meantime. So let's go get the next trap set up. Right, so on this trap, in the back, the pill bottle is still empty. But as you see here, the tape we covered these holes with yesterday have now shown activity. What you're seeing here is tape being chewed away by a carpenter bee that wants to get out. So the other ones also show activity. So that tells us that there's still more carpenter bees to be collected here. And that's a good way to test, is to just put something there that they can chew through, and that will tell you what you need to know. All right, so we've got 3 fresh traps set up here to catch any additional subordinate queens or hatching out new bees. We'll see how that goes and then we'll come back and check them in a bit. We have some taped chew holes in this other nest that we covered yesterday, and that indicates that there's more subordinate queens or hatched out adult bees that want to come out. So we're going to go ahead and retrap that one again. And that's the purpose for the temporary tape, is to just get evidence as to whether or not there's more in that particular nest that is trying to get out. So if you have a wide cup, plastic cup, and you want to use it as a trap, that's fine. You just go ahead and put tape over it to reduce the size of the hole. And what we're going to do is create a small hole in the center to be used to cover the nest hole. Very simple situation that anybody can do. You don't have to go out and buy special traps. You just use any packaging food waste or cups that's clear plastic. And you can modify any of them to the right size that you need. And that's what we're doing here. So you want to make a hole about a finger width is good enough. So there you see what we've created. Simple little hole for the bee to go into and drop into the trap. That's all you need. So there you have it, one simple trap setup. And that should be all we need to get every single bee that wants out into that trap. All right, as you see here, this trap has captured another bee. So it looks like that one is probably one of the primary queens. She's pretty large. We're going to pull that trap now and put that queen in with the others in the habitat. Okay, so here's the next one. Good solid looking female. So what we did after we pulled the trap is we taped up the hole. And the reason you do that is because you're looking for this type of chew activity on the tape. If you see this, that means there's more adult bees in that egg gallery and they need to be removed. So always tape the hole afterward. Any bees inside that are still there will try to chew out, and then you'll get an indication that that is there. Then you can trap it again. So let's put this one in the habitat with the others. So drop the hatch inside, no big deal. That's why you always have a good roll of duct tape wherever you go. So we now have 4 female queens that we've trapped in the last 24 hours just by leaving the traps up or setting new ones earlier today. So today there's only 1 male bee patrolling the area, and it doesn't come back very often anymore. So it may be moving on to greener pastures now that all the females have been removed. So it looks like this is almost taken care of, but we'll see how these other traps do. So we just put this trap up today, and as you can see, there's some active digging happening right now. So we do have another one right there. It's creating frass and sawdust while it tries to dig its way out. And eventually it will end up in that trap. And when it does, it won't be able to get out, and we'll capture it. But you can see it actively digging right now. Probably a big female queen up there. And she keeps ejecting sawdust out of that hole. That means she's tunneling deeper to lay more eggs and expand that nest gallery. So the latest captures are in here. We'll release those tomorrow after we collect a couple of more that are still there on site. But we have the traps set and we'll get them later.
June 5th, 2025. As you can see here, one of the traps has captured a Carpenter Bee queen. So we're gonna go up and retrieve her now. Air conditioning's kicking in, but let's get that one removed and put into the habitat. 2 Carpenter Bee traps, and it looks like we have at least 1 queen in each trap now. So we're gonna go ahead and retrieve those. So 3 out of the 4 traps set yesterday have captured queens. As you can see here, this queen is still quite active and healthy. So now we're going to put her into the temporary habitat and we'll release her with the others later. And now we'll take a small piece of tape and we'll put it back up over the hole to make sure we can capture the others as we reset the trap. We don't want any others to escape. And the tape, they will try to chew through it on the way out, and that'll give us an indication that they're in there. If we start seeing small holes developing here, we'll set another trap. All right, here's the second trap that has activity today. Another healthy and surviving queen. So we'll get her into the habitat. And we'll give all these queens that we capture a little bit of sugar syrup today to give them sustenance until we can get them released. Now we'll cover this hole and see if any more activity happens here. If we see a small hole being chewed in this tape, we'll know there's more in there. Otherwise, we'll know they're out. Okay, let's get the last trap here that also has a queen captured in it. Okay, let's get her out of here. Good. And now we'll seal up this hole and we'll monitor to see if anybody chews holes in this tape. If they do begin to start chewing, we'll know there's more in there. If they don't, then we'll know all of these have been resolved. So some tape we put along the garage fascia board yesterday now shows activity. So that's what it'll look like if you still have a Carpenter Bee active in this gallery, this egg gallery. You'll see the tape chewed away, and that indicates that we can now trap here, and it's not a dead old hole, it's still active. So we're gonna add a little sugar water to the Carpenter Bee habitat, the temporary habitat. We're just gonna spoon some onto the paper towel in there, and that way they don't drown or get all sticky and wet. They can just use the moisture off the towel and lick up some of the sugar water from there. We found that if we put a open container of sugar water in there, they make a huge mess in there and they get all sticky and covered in it, and it just doesn't work. But this method seems to work well. Now we're going to drop our latest captures into the habitat. just dropping them down through the hatch at the top. As you see, we just open up the tape and drop her in. And she just drops in there and joins the others. Sorry about all the reflection, there's no way around that right now. Alright, here's the next one. Just gonna drop her in. And we've got one more, but she got herself stuck to the tape, so we're going to take care of her very gently here. Try to separate her from the tape. There you go. Okay. There she goes. Okay, so now you take your container and you just drop them in. Oops, she got caught on the tape again. Come on, there you go. All right, so now we've got, what's this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Carpenter Bee queens. You can tell they're queens because they have black faces. There's no large square yellow mark or white mark on their face, and that means they're not males. Males always have that large sort of patch, that white or yellow square patch on their face. So this is all what we need to do for the client, is collect the females, because they're the ones that do damage to the properties primarily. They're the ones that'll lay eggs and drill holes in the wood and all of that. So we'll go and relocate these ladies at a local nature preserve miles and miles from here. That way they won't just go right back to the client's house, and they won't go to somebody else's house, hopefully. If we release them in the woods, with any luck, they will find dead trees, old logs to do what they do naturally, rather than invading people's homes. And they're great pollinators. We need them. So better to relocate whenever you can. So we have 7 more queens here to relocate today. Sorry for the reflection, but that's the best we can do here at this angle. She's like, dude, let me out of here. I got work to do. I know, hon. We'll get you out, don't worry. We're gonna move you out to a place where you can do all your important work with no problem. Okay, so if you're seeing activity like this and the tape you install shows a queen working that hole, then what you're going to do is take your tape like this and put it right along the wood. Make sure you line up the hole directly with the bottom of the container. And as soon as that queen tries to go out and forage, she'll drop right into the container. And there may be anywhere from 1 to several queens in each egg gallery, because they're semi-social, and what they might do is have one primary queen and several subordinate queens. So leave your trap up for a while. Even if you see one, try another 24 hours, see what you get. There might be several. So here you see feeding behavior. When you soak this paper towel in sugar water, the bees can just lick it and hydrate, and it works great. And it doesn't make a huge mess all over the habitat. So when you're going to do relocations, this is definitely the way to go. Change out the paper towel at night. After the sun goes down and they settle down for the night, you just drop a new towel in there and remove the old one. Do that every day and it works out just fine. June 6th, 2025. Looks like the ladies are still asleep this morning. It's been cold and overcast. Not really cold, but 60s overcast. Very humid. Rain in the forecast all week, but not raining at the moment. So they're still pretty sleepy. So now's a good time to add some sugar water to their paper towel here, because we're still collecting them from the client's house. Once we have them all collected, we'll take them all at once out to the nature preserve. So they need to stay in here for a while. So we give them just a little bit of sugar water every day. Soak down their paper towel so they don't dehydrate, and they also don't drown in a water container. It works pretty well. So you see how our mama bee is all fueled up with sugar now. As you refill the feeder, it doesn't take them long. So as you see here, as soon as you put the water in, they start to drink. This one just fueled up, so she got plenty of energy. All right, we're checking the traps again today. It's June 6th, 2025. We've got another queen out of this one. So she's trapped and ready to be released. So let's get her out of there. And we may have more up in this one. So in case that is the situation, we're going to go ahead and put a little piece of tape up there. Okay, now we just wait and see if anybody chews a little hole in that, and if they do, we'll re-trap it. Meanwhile, this one, no more activity yet. And same with this one down here. We taped it yesterday. It's still solid. Nobody's tried to get back into what it looks like. So that one's looking resolved. Well, she made quite a collection of frass and sawdust in there, didn't she? Before she was captured. All right, let's go get her into a habitat. Okay, up on the front traps, we don't see any activity in the pill bottle trap. We see no sign of chewing through the tape on any of the others that we have covered yesterday, which is a good indication we may have gotten them all out. We'll give another 48 hours or so, see what might try to chew in or chew out. But I see no sign of males here. All right, we just put her in the habitat, dropped it right through the hatch like we did with the others. And she's ready to be relocated. And all of these ladies will go out today and be released. But first we're going to mark them so that we can tell if they return to the scene of the crime. We're going to take them about 6 miles away to a nature preserve where there's a lot of dead trees and logs and lots of forest land. And we'll hopefully see them stay out there. It's a perfect place for carpenter bees in a natural habitat. But if they return, at least we'll know who they are. So we're gonna get them marked first. All right, so we're gonna have to gas them out. So what we're gonna do is take some CO2. This is connected to a CO2 tank down here. And we're gonna go ahead and knock them out with CO2 by putting gas into their habitat. And from there, we'll get them marked while they're unconscious. They'll be out for about 5 minutes, then they'll come right back. and then we'll take them out to the nature preserve. There we go, they're getting knocked out and dropping. Okay, so now that they're unconscious for a few minutes, you just take each one. And we're going to mark them. I have to do this kind of quickly. Not sure the mark on the top of the thorax is working well. I prefer to mark them on a smoother part of the body. Wow. That's probably about the best we're going to be able to do. There you go. Can't be on your back there, huh? You need your paint to dry. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is that everybody? I think it is. Let's clean up our glass while we're in here. Oh, there's one hiding down in the corner. So I guess we have 8 of them today. Okay, everybody's marked. I'm starting to wake up. Let's clean up that glass while we're at it. There we go. Oop, there's another one. Come here, Hannah. You're next. Okay, as you can see, we've got all of our girls marked, and now we can release them once they wake up fully. And it's going to take them a few minutes. We knocked them out pretty hard. Early evening, we now have another queen in our trap, so we're going to take her out and put her with the rest of her compatriots and get them ready for relocation. So we'll collect her in a moment. Let's check the others. As you see here, we have one more queen, probably a subordinate queen, hovering around this piece of tape where she's now locked out. So we're going to go get the net and we'll net her and add her to the collection. She is trying to get back in, but she can't. She's been denied by the tape. So this is how we can net her easily now. All right, so as you see her moving around up there, she'll be easy to reach with the net. Okay, here she is in the net. Now let's get her captive and we'll inspect the rest of the place. All right, June 6, 2025. Here we see some chew activity on the tape, so we're going to reset the trap right there. There's still some bees that want to get out of there. A couple more queens here. We're going to go ahead and knock them out with CO2 and get them marked. And that way, if they return back to the scene of the crime, we'll know it's them. We're going to take about 6 miles away to a nature preserve and release them. And that should be far enough to get them out of here. All right, she's down. Looks like they're both out. turn it over here. All right, let's get these ladies into the habitat. All we have to do is just simply pick them up because they're knocked out. And we're going to drop them right in here. So we're climbing up here to mount a new trap. As you see, the tape shows activity of further chewing right here. And of course what that means is there's another queen that wants to get out, or one that tried to get in. Most likely trying to get out, but either way we're going to put a trap there because when she drops down, she'll drop in the trap. Or if she's out and about right now, she'll come back and try to get in and we'll just net her. So you set up your duct tape like this so you can just stick it directly onto the wood and it's ready to go. Just like this, okay? So let's remove the old tape. There we go. Make plenty of room for a trap. And we'll reuse some of this tape just to block any exit holes around that area there. Maybe just a little more right here in the back. Doesn't look like that's enough for her to get out of that space, so I think we're good here. Okay, we'll give it another 24 hours, 48 hours, and she'll be back in here or hovering around where we can net her. June 7th, 2025. Here we have two more females, it looks like. We've dropped into the traps and we're going to take them out today. Okay, let's see what we got there. Yep, two more females. Get them into the habitat. Alright, so we're resealing the tape and we're going to look for chew activity, see if there's any more in there. So as you can see here, we have another one trying to chew its way out of the tape. And this is what you're looking for activity when you're testing whether or not a gallery hole for an egg chamber is active or not. So when you see this kind of activity or you see a hole that indicates it's been happening, you just set another trap and she'll drop right in. That's what we're going to do with these. So they're all staying busy today. Our marked blue queens. So what we're going to do is mark the two that we just captured in the latest trap, and then we'll get them into the habitat as well.
Two good prominent marks so we can see them if they return to the client's residence after we take them to a nature preserve that is about, let's get that earwig out of there. Looks like they killed that. So we've got these two marked well. Now they're going to wake up a little bit. So let's drop them in. Be a busy house in there, so pretty soon we're gonna have to release all these as we capture more from the client's residence. All right, so we're gonna reset this trap and try to pull out the one that's chewing its way out now. All right, the trap we just set a few minutes ago has captured our queen, so let's go contain her. There she is. Oh, look at that. Wish I had my net up here. In the meantime, there's a queen that's been trying to get in here. Let's net her first and then we'll let this one out. While she's here, let's get her. She is. Got her. Now we have to just contain her and put her in the habitat. Okay, now let's get back to our trapped girl and get her out of there. All right, two more down. Who knows how many to go. So we have one nest and an egg gallery here along this part of the fascia board, but it's not accessible because there's a bulkhead door system here at the bottom and you can't walk on that. You can't set any weight on it really, no ladder support there. So if you're working from the ground, you can take an extension pole like this, put a piece of board across it or any object that's long and can block the hole, tape it to the end of the pole, and then tape a sticky tape with the sticky side facing out toward the bottom of the pole. And so you essentially just block the hole. And what carpenter bees do is they'll come back and they'll hover around where they know their nest hole is, and they'll explore anything that's blocking it. And as soon as they do that, they should get stuck to this sticky tape, and then you can capture them. Have a long enough pole, and you can get these on Amazon for relatively inexpensive. You can do the second level as well, the same way. You go up to where you see them hovering around and going in and out of their gallery hole, and with that long pole extension with a sticky trap on it, you can just put that up as close to the hole as you can get it, and eventually they're going to hit it. And then you can capture them from the ground instead of working at height or getting on a ladder or getting on a roof, which can be dangerous. Once you see them hovering around the blocked off hole, you don't have to wait until they're on the sticky trap. If you want to try to net them and rescue them, that's even better. So we have our net standing by, and it's a long pole net, and we can grab her whenever she returns. There she is. Let's see if we can grab her now before she hits that sticky trap. So here she is. Let's get her contained. Once you have her contained, you're set, and you can set her aside and move on with the next one. So we have a sticky trap mounted on 2 different holes now. Different types of traps. One faces out, one faces in. So we're going to see how they work. So as you see along this fascia board, we have 1, 2, 3 taped off egg gallery holes. And what that means is there's been no activity here that's observable. Nothing flying around, nothing coming and going. So what we're waiting for is whether or not we see any chew activity showing up on the tape. Small holes being chewed in the tape where any of these additional bees may be trying to chew their way out of any of these galleries. So far, we don't see any activity that would suggest that. So they may all be out for now, but we'll give it a day or two and check them again. So, got quite a few in here now. Stopped counting a while ago, but they're all marked. And we'll try to get an accurate count on them before we release them. And we'll find out if any of these blue girls come back to our client's house after we release them about 5 or 6 miles from here at a nature preserve. The theory is, going that far away, they shouldn't be able to find their way back, and maybe they'll take up residence in some of the dead trees and so forth in the forest area where we're going to drop them off, and that's where they belong. All right, so this trap we set earlier today is now got a queen contained in it. So let's get her out of there. She's a nice big queen. Nice big queen we can mark and relocate. Let's go do that. We've now captured and marked in this batch over a dozen queens from the same residence. And now we're just going to go ahead and knock out the latest arrival and get her moved into the habitat after we mark her.
And she's out. Here's what she looks like when she's marked. See how she's all covered in pollen and sawdust. Let's drop her in. We put some tape over this nesting hole yesterday, and it shows significant chew activity today in behind the gutter. You can't quite see it from here, but it's been chewed up pretty well. So what we're going to do today is put up a sticky trap and see if that works to capture whatever's up in there, because we can't get a direct trap in there that is non-stick and would be less lethal. But the sticky traps work very well for this type of inaccessible trap out. Alright, as you can see here, we have more activity at this trap. Somebody trying to chew their way out. So let's give her somewhere to come out and drop into the trap. Okay. Now I'm going to remove that tape and let her just drop right in, hopefully. Let's see who's in there trying to get out. She's hiding now because we bumped the tape around. All right, we've got them buckled in. They're ready to go. All right, girls. Freedom awaits. So we're on our way to the nature preserve. It's about 6 miles from the farm's location where we just left them. As you can see, they are excited and healthy. They're all marked. We have probably 1, 2, 3, somewhere between 15 and 20. A couple males, but mostly females. Let's listen to them for a minute. Countryside out here.
right, girls. Right here. They are ready to go.
So this location was about 6 miles from the residence, out at a nature preserve that had a lot of forested land, and it's protected. It's just a great place to let them live, so we're hoping they do well out there. We probably released in several sessions of different days dozens of carpenter bees out here. We only marked about half of them, maybe less than half, but it'll be interesting to see if any of those turn up anywhere.
Happy trails, friends. Not a bad place to live. Here is another trap that has activity. We set this one earlier today and it already has another female in it, it looks like. So let's take that one down. All right, here we're going to take a look at one of the sticky traps that was set up outside one of these exit holes. And as you can see, when the holes are inaccessible like this, it's back in there and we can't get to it. If you just cover it, the general area, with a sticky trap, as they start dropping out of the nest, they'll just get stuck right to the sticky trap. And that's unfortunate. We sometimes can save these, sometimes we can't, but at least you get them out of your house when they're doing damage. Unfortunately, they can't be saved. They're too glued on there, but they can be used as lure, because having them there will bring in more that are around this general vicinity of the home. So here we're going to go up on the upper level and work the fascia boards that are up on this section of the roof, because so far we've done everything along this section on the lower part of the fascia board. Now we're going to move up here and do these. There's a couple of serious nests up here that are splattering waste all over the windows. Been doing that for quite a while, so we're going to get those out of there by trapping them with glue traps and some duct tape. We're going to set these traps up there. Unfortunately, because it's a roof situation, it's just much easier to use sticky traps because they're safe. And we don't have to keep going up a ladder to change traps. So we're going to take a mirror up there and look behind that fascia board with the mirror so we can see where these nests are. Because we don't have good access, we're going to have to use the mirror for reference. Marked 3 of them that we can actually reach. The others we cannot reach since there's just no access. There's a bunch of electrical wires where you could put a ladder, so there's no access for a ladder. And the pitch of the roof is such that we can't walk on it. Ladder safety, we're talking about 3 points of contact always, if you can. One hand, 2 boots, it's a long way down. You definitely do not want to loosen your grip if you can help it. Now under here is where we have our nest hole, and so what we're going to do is take this glue trap and put it like this underneath. And we're not going to film that because we need both hands to work. But that's the plan. Put this right in here, and whenever she comes out to forage, she'll be caught. Okay, we just taped it up. So now here's what it looks like. It's taped on 2 edges, and when she comes out and tries to come down that tunnel, or go in that tunnel, eventually she's going to get stuck there. And that's the idea. We want her to stick to that sticky trap as she comes and goes. So there's 2 sticky traps. When they exit the hole or enter, they will inevitably bounce off that sticky trap at one point or another, and they'll be contained. And then as more come out of the egg gallery, as they develop from egg to pupa to adult, they will eventually get stuck too when they attempt to leave. So we'll leave these up for a while because they will probably catch multiple bees. I'm going to try to get off this ladder in one piece. Okay, let's check on this one. It's now been here for about a day and a half, something like that. There you go. We've got adults who had either pupated out of the nest or attempted to visit this hole. We hate to see native pollinators killed like this, but bottom line is we didn't have a better option on this one. Because of the bulkhead down here, there's a safety risk with ladders, so sometimes you have to sacrifice some of these in order to be safe. We can't set traps up here easily that are live traps and get access to them because we're on ladders too much. We just can't do that, so here we are.
So by the end of this multi-day job, we captured dozens of carpenter bees and got them relocated. They had nests all over the residence, also on the garage, and each nest produced several bees. So there were queens, there were males, there were also subordinate queens that live inside the nest with the primary queen. There were also bees being born inside these nests, and those would drop out when they came to maturity. So there were dozens we pulled out of here, and we rescued dozens. And unfortunately, we did have to see a few get sacrificed on glue traps because we just couldn't find a way to get a live trap mounted safely due to ladder issues or accessibility issues, that kind of thing. But in general, this was a great relocation job, and we saved a lot of native pollinators, and it's not difficult to do as long as you're not dangling off ladders dangerously. Find safe ways to do this. It's just not that complex. Most people could probably do this, and we highly recommend it. Take them 5-6 miles away. None of these blue marked queens came back, so we know 5 or 6 miles worked. So far, it appears that as long as you take them out to a wooded area where they can naturally live in old trees and dead logs and whatnot, then relocation is perfectly doable. No worries there with carpenter bees at all. We're going to monitor this residence for a couple of months during summer just in case one of these blue marked queens comes back, but so far there's no indication they will. June 11th, 2025. We're back out at the Nature Preserve to release 4 more marked female carpenter bees. These queens were removed from a client's property, and now they can be released in a natural environment that will allow them to be able to nest in old trees and logs where they're supposed to in nature, hopefully. And let's get them released. Let's see if we can get them to fly. There you go. All right, here goes the other one.